Welcome to A Toast to Truth. This is where I share the mental, financial, and emotional frustrations of being an entrepreneur. However, we're trying to flip it a little bit and not so much focus on the negative. This is season 9, episode 9, Have a Career, Not Just a Good Year. So let's start with the question. Are you thinking about the totality of your blog or just until the next check clears? This is probably the longest question out of these 50 plus something. I think this is like episode 59 that I've had in this entire podcast. And so the reason I wanted to go into specific details about this question, we have to think about it. This is something we have to think about. I was watching the Travis Scott documentary on Netflix. I believe it's Travis Scott, Momma, I Can Fly. I have my thoughts about let me go ahead and just tell you. I thought overall it was a good documentary. It wove in home video as well as behind the scenes of them touring, as well as the making of Astroworld, his album. And what I liked about it is it really gave a good, solid story on the making of Travis Scott. What I didn't like, and this is just a very personal opinion, is how crazy it gets at his concerts. Like, so violent in a sense. And they're not fighting the kids. They're just very rambunctious. So that bothered me. I was just like, oh my God, like how dangerous it is to attempt. But other than that, I thought it was a good documentary. So kudos to him. He put his daughter as a producer. So kudos to him for doing that, making sure she, has a producing credit and she gets paid from this documentary. But on top of that, it really was a smart move on his part to really give people like me who's not familiar with him outside of him dating, Kylie Jenner and the antics that people portray him as in the media. It really gave a good insight into the man, the producer, the owner of a record label. It really opened my eyes. And so kudos to him. Hats off to Travis Scott. Much respect for the work that he's put in that we don't see. And so that kind of leads us into what we're talking about in this episode. I got the phrase, have a career, not just a good year, from his documentary. One of the people on his team said this to him, and it's, I changed it, just paraphrase to fit with the theme of the season, the real struggles of entrepreneurship. But he and his team, they got nominated for some Grammys. They unfortunately didn't win. And Mayor Turner had a really good pep talk to him. I don't want to give too much away, so you got to watch it. But, the mayor of Houston did give him a little pep talk about the fact that he didn't win a Grammy based on the artistic work that he felt he poured into Astroworld. So one of the people on the team said, essentially think of it this way. We're here to have a career, not just one good year. And so that really stuck with me. And that's what I want to do this particular episode on. A lot of times we're looking, I want to have 6 figures. I want to close a 5-figure brand deal. I want to work with this brand. I want to work with that brand. I would love to work with Samsung. So if anyone knows Samsung, just, connect us, please. Thank you. Anyway, that stuck with me because a lot of people are so stuck on this right now. I need to get this next deal. I need to close this client. I need to make sure I have X amount of views on my blog, X amount of views on my YouTube channel, X amount of followers on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. That we're looking at the next one thing, but we're not looking at the totality of what it is we're trying to do. And when we don't have a good overview of what it is we're trying to do, that's where we get distracted. That's where we get off course. That's where we lose our focus. That's where, and I know that's all redundant, but I'm emphasizing a point. When we are not focused on both the big picture and the minutia of the details, we're not sure what direction we're going. And we can all have a great year, but what about the next year? What about the next year? If you do not have a solid footing, a strong foundation, you're more than likely only going to be able to hustle until your next check, right? And we talked about that earlier in this podcast season 9, where hustle can be very draining and exhausting because you're hustling, but there's no strategy behind it. So you're just essentially running to get something. And then once you have it, then you have to think, okay, well, what's next? Now, if we're focusing on, let's focus on the good year first, and we'll get to the career. Having a good year could be featured in different publications, media publications, being on TV, making X amount of dollars, being seen as whatever it is you want to be known as. All of this is great. But I have listened to podcast episodes and I have seen people actually share that while they were on the covers of magazines or featured in different publications, and these are influencers, they were struggling financially, or they were still on their job while everyone thought they were doing this full time, or they were deeply depressed. But on paper, they looked like they had a good year. But in actuality, it was a struggle year for a lot of these people. A lot of people worked towards getting featured on media publications or landing this brand deal or closing this client or getting this digital course off the ground. But behind the scenes, it wasn't what it seemed. Not saying that they were falsely presenting themselves, they weren't, but they were doing something. They were focusing on, I need to get in front of these people. I need to do this. I need to do that. That the good year was something that they just could not actually really truly enjoy because there was so much more behind the scenes. If you're focused on the career, you will understand that good years come and go. But the underlying foundation of what it is you want to do, what it is you're trying to do, will be monumental, because it will be the reason that you continue when other people have to close their doors, shut down, sell, go back to a job, change direction. Well, I don't want to say change directions because, change direction is something that has to happen sometimes. So we'll put that out. But essentially, the reason that stuck with me from the documentary is because I want to be a blogger for a very long time. I started in March 2009. Then I had to take a little break because I was in grad school. I came back in September 2011 and I wanted to make money when I came back. I wanted to do this. There was no, yes, let's be a blogger as a profession. That was not even a thing. in 2011. But I knew things had changed from 2009 to 2011. I knew Facebook was changing. I was on Facebook. That was probably the only social media I was on. Like, I was apprehensive to be on any social media. Let's be real about that. I didn't want to be on any social media. I never had a MySpace. I was not really on AOL chats or anything. So I was apprehensive. However, I love to write. I love to express my thoughts, my opinions, my reflections, my experience, my knowledge through words, written words. I love chatting to you guys, but essentially you can't chat back. But you can comment back on the blog post. So I knew I loved to write. I didn't want to be an author. I don't want to write screenplays. I don't want to write films. I don't want to write in publications per se. I don't want to be a journalist. So I knew all the different types of writing I didn't want to do. The one that really fell into what I had some type of spark was blogging. I had gotten great reactions when I was blogging in 2009. So I said, sure, let me do it. Let me go all in. You all can listen to past episodes about how I got into it. Now, it was hard for me starting out because when people ask why did I want to blog, I said I want to make money. I want to do this as a career. So I have faced a lot of backlash, and so many people were saying I should want to do this because I'm passionate about it, and all these other things that were reasons why they blogged, not why I blogged. And so it was very disheartening and very hard in the first few years to find people who understood why I wanted to blog as a profession. So having the career was not smooth sailing for me. So I, was in the mindset of, well, let me just make X amount of dollars this month. Let me close this client I'm reaching out to. Let me do this. Let me do that. So it was chasing good years in the beginning. Then I had my really, really, really bad year last year. You can all listen to season 7 about that. You can read my blog post about that. And I'm not angry. Like I said in the previous episode this season, I'm not angry anymore. Disappointed, heartbroken, yes, but I'm not angry. The thing is, chasing the good years really prohibited me from laying a strong foundation to have the career that I want as a blogger. So that's why I'm sharing this. Watching the documentary and having listened to that particular comment, I was like, ha 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 ha. Like, it really stuck with me because I'm thinking to myself, man, this really explains a lot of what I did, what has happened to me, and probably, many other people. We're chasing these good years to look good, to have some type of recognition. I don't know. Applause, whatever. But we're not taking the time to really lay down the foundation to have a sustainable career. The reason I have had so many ebbs and flows, so many mountains and so many valleys is because I'm chasing these good years, right? I'm not building the bricks or laying the foundation for a good career. So when this comes out, when is this coming out? Like September 9th, 8th, whatever that Sunday is. I believe it's the 8th. It would have been like a week since I watched the documentary. But recording this was like a couple of days, right? And it was this aha moment that I was like, wake up, Bernetta, wake up. Because you have had some good years. But if you want to continue to blog and do this sustainable, you have to stop thinking in years and think of career. You have to really sit down and look at the overview of what is it that you want to accomplish with your blog. So it's like a backwards design. If you're in education, you understand backwards design. You start with the outcome and then you build going backwards. So essentially, if you want to have $1 million blog, you have to say, okay, the outcome is $1 million blog, and these are all the ways that I'm going to do it. So I guess it's a backwards funnel for people who understand funnel. I'm trying to explain it, but if you are not in education, it may not make sense. So it's a little different than saying, I want to make $1 million, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to do courses, I'm going to do events, I'm going to do webinars, I'm going to have products, I'm going to write a book, I'm going to do keynote speeches. That's not backwards design. That's actually laying the steps, right? Now, one thing I have noticed is that some people try to do a lot of things at one time, so it muddles the effectiveness of the business they're building. I'm also speaking from experience. When you try to do too many things, it confuses people. And when people are confused, they don't buy from you. They'll buy from someone else, but they may not buy from you. And so if you have a good year, it's because you may have had a good message and people responded to that message. But what if people don't respond to that message the following year because that message could have been on trend, right? And not evergreen. If you're not sure what it is you're doing, and I've been there, I'm sharing from personal experience. If you're not sure what it is you have been doing, then you're more than likely going to have, ebbs and flows, good years, bad years, whatever. But it's not going to make sense in the long run because if you look back, you're going to be like all over the place. So let me kind of break down and explain what it is I'm saying as far as the difference between a good year and a career, because I want you to understand good years are great. Trust me, they are great. When that money is hitting, money is coming in, things are flowing, everybody is responding, people pulling out them, debit cards, paying and stuff like that. That's great. But what happens if you build a whole business on trend and that trend fades away? Are you going to build another business on trend? Or are you going to try to force people to respond to that trend once it's gone? If you build, that's a good year, okay? If you're building a career, you can have things on trend, but you also have things that will stand the test of time, and that's what you want. That's what I've been trying to say. Whew, so glad that phrase finally got to me. You're looking for something to stand the test of time. So what is it in your business that's going to stand the test of time? We struggle as entrepreneurs because we're so busy trying to get the money that we're chasing whatever opportunity is out there. We may get that opportunity and have that amazing year, but that opportunity may only be for that year. And then you didn't have anything that's going to stand the test of time. And then you're now having to spend another year chasing another opportunity. So what is it with your business or your blog that will stand the test of time? For me, events are not going anywhere. Live events are not going anywhere. I don't care what people say about the digital space. More and more people are creating live in-person events, which means you have to leave your house, you have to put on some clothes, and you have to show up and see people face to face, right? That in and of itself is not going away. That is what I am basing my blog business on, events. Now that I have the basis of the career that I am building, I have to now understand the different strategies to make sure that I have good year after good year after good year. So those good years accumulate to an exceptional, phenomenal, amazing blog career. Because like I said, I don't see myself doing anything like I don't want to become a soap maker. I don't want to go back to teaching. I loved teaching, but I'm over. 11 years, I'm done. I want to blog. So I made the declaration, right? You have to make your declaration. I want to be an entrepreneur. Okay, what kind of entrepreneur? After you decide what type of entrepreneur or what kind of entrepreneur you want to be, you have to really base it on something that's going to have longevity. And then once you have based it on longevity, then you can go into your specific niche or area or topic that you want to dominate in. And so that's what I need to focus on, which, I will reveal to you guys. But my messaging needs to focus on the area I want to dominate in. So we're going to take a quick sip and then we will be right back. Houston Catering Concepts is a full-service catering company in Houston, Texas. They are looking forward to catering your next event or family celebration. You can choose from Mexican, I love Mexican, Persian, barbecue, and more. Oh, and they are the food sponsor for Get Me Paid Influencer Bootcamp. Contact them today by phone 832-594-7296 or email orders with an S at houstoncatering.com. Mark your calendars. September 19th is the Get Me Paid Influencer Bootcamp. It's a one-day conference helping you understand the operational side of being an influencer so you make more money. Throughout the day, you'll learn different strategies you can add to your action plan. And that action plan is what you will implement when you leave. Make sure you go to gum.co/getmepaid19 to get your ticket today. No matter what, the freedom of waking up and not stressing out about money, paying your bills, getting things done, especially for your blog, is indescribable. And we want you to have that feeling too. So make sure you go to gum.co/getmepaid19 to get your ticket. Okay, we are back. And before we took our sip, we were talking about dominating in our area. Now, going back to the career, my career is a blogger. I want to focus on events because events are not going anywhere. Now, there's a million and one different things you can do in events. Event planning, management, production, coordinating. You can be a vendor, providing different things, creating things for events, marketing, promotion, covering events. You can be a host, you can be an MC, and so on, right? But I realize what I like to do and what I'm good at, and that's covering events. And people are kind of like, no, nobody's going to pay for that. People pay for a freaking rock as a pet, okay? So if people get paid for a pet rock, then there's no reason for me not to get paid for what I am amazing at doing. Now, it is up to me to turn the good years that I've had doing that from 2011 to 2013. Those were amazing years for me. Amazing years, especially financially, when it came to blogging. I need to turn those good years into a solid, strong career. So that means I need to adapt to what's happening in 2019 and anticipate what's going to happen in 2020. Okay, so I can't do the same things that I did in 2011, 2012, 2013. So that means I'm going to have to really do my research, really pay attention to what's going on, understand the needs of the events that I want to work moving forward. These are all things that if you're an entrepreneur, you have to anticipate. You have to anticipate trends. You have to anticipate the upcoming recession. You have to anticipate people's spending habits. Okay, especially if you're an influencer and you're being paid to promote a product, a service, or whatever. You have to anticipate people's spending habits. Now, if we're thinking about women, hair, nails, skin, clothes, recession or not, they're going to get bought, paid for, taken care of. Okay, so those are almost like recession proof. I don't know if they're paying their rent, but they're taking care of hair, skin, clothes, nails, makeup. That's going to be taken care of, recession or not. Okay. Now for men, I don't know. I don't know what y'all buy. I mean, I ain't a man, so I don't know. However, if you're creating a business around something that may or may not stand the recession, right? You have to anticipate how are you still going to be able to monetize your influence, your skills, your services, your products, when people are going to start looking critically at their line items on their budget. Well, most people don't follow a budget, but for those who do follow a budget, they're going to be looking at it, and your service, your business may be unnecessary for them, right? Essentially, my business is not for consumers. Consumers will benefit from it, but you're not my target. My target are event coordinators, event producers, people who have an event, right? And you're looking for someone to amplify the experience of the event the day of. That's essentially what covering an event is. You're amplifying the experience the day of. Why does that matter? Because you sell your next event at your current event. So if you're waiting to post till later, that could be too late. People want to live in the moment. And that's what having someone like myself, a paid event blogger, come to your event and they create that moment for people who are not there so that they purchase a ticket for the next event so that they don't miss the next moment. Thus, why I work with people who create the events, because you're the ones who are busy at your actual event that you're not able to create the moment from in person and transfer it online simultaneously. You're too busy doing other stuff. That's why you need to hire me. But that is something I have to make sure that my message is clear so people understand. Because I didn't have to share. Like from one event to another, people saw my work. And so it was immediately, I will go to another event because people would see it and request, right? Things have changed. There's other people who are now doing events. There are so many people who are doing events and they're just showing up for free and they'll do it, right? However, I charge because I know what I'm bringing and I know what needs to be done to make sure that that moment at your event translates into future sales for you. If you don't have future sales, then the moment was missed. The moment was missed. And missed moments is missed opportunities, missed sales, lack of funds, struggle in your business, frustrating. Frustrating could potentially lead to you giving up. You see how that works? You see how all of that plays? And that's what I want to help prevent people from doing. However, going back to the documentary and the phrase, have a good year, not have a career, not just a good year. This is why it stuck with me. You see all these ideas and thoughts that I'm sharing with you about this phrase that I heard. You don't want to look back at your life and say, oh man, 2012 was an awesome year for me. And then you had decades of other years that were meaningless, that served no purpose. That's what we don't want. We want to make sure that everything we're doing is building upon the previous year so that when we look back on our lives, we can see that we have created an impact that substantially was positive in other people's lives. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a blogger, you should want to positively impact other people. You should want to provide other people with something to brighten their day. Whether it's a laugh, whether it's an aha moment, whether it's something that they can think about, whether it's a challenge for them to do something. With your business, you should want people to move into a positive direction with their life, right? So, yeah, this podcast isn't going to be, this episode particularly isn't going to be long because I really just want you to think about this phrase. Have a career, not just a good year. And then I want you to think about all the good years you've had. How can you replicate them? How can you extend the positive things that happened in your life, especially professionally? How can you take that and how can you expound on them so that they become a continuous cycle? Let's start creating some positive, continuous cycles in our businesses. Let's start creating positive cycles with our blogs. Let's stop with the woe is me. Let's stop with the victim mentality. Let's stop with, well, so-and-so has more followers and that's what she gets. And no, everybody started at zero. Everybody did. So what was that good year? Look at that good year, evaluate that good year, analyze that good year, and then look at 2019, look at 2020, look at the future, and anticipate what's going to happen. Take what worked in that good year and adapt it to what's happening now and anticipate the future and create a positive cycle of success for your blog or your business. That's what I'm going to do. I'm challenging you to do that as well because you know what? I'm tired of the woe is me, and I'm speaking to myself. I do listen to my own podcast sometimes. I'm tired of the woe is me. I am challenging everybody who is listening to this podcast episode to look at your good years and turn those good years into a phenomenal career, whatever it is. If you're a caterer, if you are a blogger, if you are a florist, if you are a coach, whatever it is, turn your good years into a phenomenally successful career. All right, so we're going to get ready for our final toast. So today's final toast is, do not let 1 year be the glorious point of your life. Make every year count. Do what you need to do to make every year a positive, successful year. All right, so that's it. This has been A Toast of Truth with me, Vernetta Arfrini. This is season 9, episode 9. And I didn't really, I didn't share any consequences. You may be able to put 2 and 2 together based on this episode. But we have one more episode left in this season, and that will come out next week. So thank you all so much for listening, and I'll be back next week to wrap up season 9. Go to VernettaRFree.com for the show notes. Make sure you go to VernettaRFree.com /category /podcast.